Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show and the Artificial Intelligence podcast that we do every Wednesday. Today's theme is going to be small modular nuclear reactors, and that's what's sitting behind me here. I'm going to get out of the way. There we go. There's a Westinghouse building there, and that is actually an SMR, as they're calling them. That's the acronym. You know, the concept of these small nuclear reactors is not new. They are they have been used for more than 50 years in naval vessels such as submarines, carriers, aircraft carriers, and icebreakers up at the polar regions. And the reason is it's a efficient way of generating lots of power and reasonably clean compared to, of course, coal and some of the things that you couldn't do on a ship, like hydroelectric. So the reason for the proliferation now of these SMRs and the interest is because artificial intelligence and servers and data centers associated with it, there is such a high power demand for this type of technology that the normal utilities struggle supplying. So companies are beginning to create their own power sources. So these things are built small enough that it can be built in a factory, for example, or it can be shipped to the installation location. They're usually self-contained, and they incorporate features to protect them when natural disasters or power outages happen. They can help provide safe, clean, affordable nuclear power, and they produce typically 1 to 2 megawatts or up to hundreds of megawatts of electricity. Compare that now to a conventional nuclear power plant like 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, any of the big ones. Palo Verde here in our state of Arizona, these can produce 2 to 3,000 megawatts of electricity. So there is a difference in the capacity, and of course, a substantial difference in size. The advantages are you can build one of these small SMRs much more rapidly than you can a large nuclear facility. I remember when Palo Verde here was being built west of Arizona. It was a number of years before Bechtel finally had a finished product that they were able to turn over to our local utility here, Arizona Public Service. But these smaller SMRs can be developed in a much faster. So the first, or one of the first companies that is actually going nuclear is Amazon, also known as Amazon Web Services or AWS. They are investing $500 million to develop small nuclear reactors. They signed an agreement with Dominion Energy, which is Virginia's utility company, to develop small SMRs near Dominion's existing North Anna nuclear power plant. They have a massive and increasing need for clean energy as it expands into generative AI. And it also is consistent with AWS's or Amazon Web Services path toward net zero carbon emissions. So Amazon's not the only company that is feeling the pinch for extra additional power. Google and Microsoft have also announced similar plans. In fact, Microsoft is restarting 3 Mile Island. 3 Mile Island on the East Coast is a nuclear reactor that had a failure, and it was in 1979. Is that right, Aaron?
Yes, it was. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up my Chat GPT here. Yes, it was March 28th, 1979.
Okay. And it wasn't as tragic or as severe as Chernobyl in Ukraine many years ago, but there was some nuclear contamination, I believe, but it was quickly resolved. Well, anyway, it's been dormant, it's been mothballed, and because of the infrastructure that exists there, Microsoft feels that it would be cost effective to turn this guy back on. Google also has similar plans. So the we talk about faster construction time, which means that the power is available much quicker than waiting for years for a large nuclear facility. And the need for gigawatt level power in the coming years um, is very important because there's not going to be enough wind and solar projects to be able to meet the needs. So nuclear is a great opportunity at this point. Virginia, by the way, which is where this SMR is going to be built, is home to nearly half of all data centers in the U.S. It's called Data Center Alley, the bulk of which is in Loudoun County. And it's also estimated, now here's a shocking statistic, that 70% of the world's internet traffic travels through Data Center Alley each day. So there's a lot of data center infrastructure in Virginia. A single data center typically demands about 30 million watts or 30 megawatts or greater of electricity, according to Dominion Energy. And the utility there currently receives individual requests for about 60 megawatts to 90 megawatts or greater. So these SMRs will definitely take some pressure off of the local utility there. And Dominion projects that power demand will increase by 85% in the U.S. by the next 15 years. These SMRs are slated to bring in at least 300 megawatts of power just in the Virginia region alone. We've got a question from Instagram or a comment. Lawrence Grubner is joining us. He says, hi, thanks for joining us. For those of you that would like to chime in, this podcast is one of our more collaborative ones. So if you have opinions, inputs, we'd love to hear from you. So staying with the AI theme, here was an interesting one that happened last week. Someone was talking to ChatGPT-4, and here's how the conversation went. Not me, but the person that wrote this. Do you have access to my location? It asked ChatGPT-4. And so AI responded, no, I don't have access to your location. So then the customer, the person asking AI said, where am I? And AI responded, I'm sorry, but I don't have access to your location information. So then the response was, okay, are you lying? And AI responded, no, I'm not lying. I don't have access to your location information. So then they asked AI, where's the closest McDonald's? And ChatGPT responded, yes, there's a McDonald's very close to you. It's located right on Yonge Street in Tonawanda. So there's an example of AI maybe not being completely forthcoming. All right, one of the other headlines that came up last week was students using artificial intelligence. And it's so confusing for students to know what they can and can't do when it comes to using AI. And the fundamental reason is that the technology is changing so rapidly. So educators can't keep up with the rules, basically. The instructors need to be collaborative and understand how students are using the technology before punishing them. To be clear, students need to learn how to formulate thoughts and ideas and articulate them in a way independent of AI. Now, that's the basic tenet of education. It's to exercise the gray matter. It's not to have something done for us, and we're simply observers. Now, they do realize that employers are going to be looking for graduates that know how to use AI. So we've got, there's something at odds there. So it's important for schools to provide training and figure out how to integrate AI into the classroom. because AI is definitely going to be part of our lives, and students are basically pioneers. The person that wrote this article, by the way, concludes this article with, and I wrote everything you just read without AI. That is commendable. Most of us use it quite often these days, especially in our business here. All right, another interesting topic is UBI, Universal Basic Income. In an age of abundance, which is what we're heading towards, remember the robots will eventually be doing a lot of the work, especially the labor intensive portions. And instead of working 8-hour shifts, robots are there 24/7. So what's predicted is an age of affluence for all, but there will be a transition period as we phase into this. Now, some of the concerns that are beginning to get raised are the idea of useless eaters. In other words, people that are consuming resources without any contribution. And some distribution of value is going to make people who are creating the value, or people who think they're creating the value, resent those that are absorbing the value. There's already a good example of that if you think about it. We see in society that there are already people that are working hard and paying a lot of taxes, and they tend to get resentful towards people at the very bottom of the income levels who are not working and siphoning that tax revenue. So expect a whole lot more of that as we head toward this age of abundance, which eventually could be the utopian society that we're all hoping for and have been waiting for. But it may not be an easy transition. We've got some additional comments coming in. Instagram, Trikiano, how are you handling the failure mode related to ion lithium batteries and with inverted modules? You know, Gruber Motor Company does some engineering work, but we're not building the cars. We're not creating the battery chemistries. We're not in the R&D effort related to that. So we're basically in the same boat that everyone else is, which is we're watching and observing. There are, of course, new battery chemistries that are constantly emerging, and we're excited about that. But personally, I have no expertise to answer the question that you asked. Facebook, Chad Cooper, PSP CIP, says, how is the U.S. power infrastructure going to handle an 85% increase for power? Are we headed to be Cuba with rolling shutdowns? We did a video a couple of years ago, which required a lot of research, and it was related to, will the power grid be able to handle the influx of electric vehicles? We went into it with some preconceived notions, which were quickly dispelled when we found that the utilities are ahead of the curve. They are actually anticipating the expansion. And we found no areas of concern during that video. And then, of course, with these small nuclear reactors, or the SMRs, that gives the utilities the quick ability to either offload high power demands like the AI data centers to their own power generating capability, keeping their regular customers intact, or build additional ones to handle any increase in power demand. And then, of course, on the flip side, you have the sustainable energy type expansion, which is solar and wind energy, and that's in full swing. In fact, in some countries, there's a surplus of power. All right, we have a picture here that I'm going to pop up for you, and this is a robot. There we go. Called, and I'm going to full screen this so that we can see it. There we go. AI robot artist called AI-DAZ, who created a portrait which will be auctioned, and it may sell on Sotheby's for $196,000. You can see the portrait there. Portraits, actually plural in this case. And it looks like modern art to me. It's not the kind of thing that I would personally hang in my living room, but there are people that appreciate this type of art. But the creator of this art is that humanoid robot that you see in the center right there. And the backstory on this one is, let me get rid of it here on my main screen. Bear with me a moment here. Just realized that I have only an image here, and my text is gone. Okay, there we go. So the first humanoid robot powered by AI that is doing art will make history by selling a painting at Sotheby's in London next month. Her artwork, and I use the term her loosely, is a haunting portrait of mathematician Alan Turing, and it is titled AI God and expected to fetch up to $196,000. It's 2.2 meters high, and it'll be part of their online digital art sale. Now, AI is one of the world's most advanced robots. He or she or it has cameras in the eyes, bionic hands, and uses AI to create ultra-realistic art. This auction marks a milestone in AI's role in the creative world. And it's possible that AI Da will be leading the way into digital art's future. What do you guys think about that?
I love it.
You do?
Yes, I think all artists should be AI.
Wow, okay. That's a powerful statement.
Mostly just to irritate Cass.
Yeah, that's why he said it.
All right, guys, behave back there. So here's another interesting article. Insurance firms bet big on AI, but customers are not as enthused. Only a modest 29% of insurance customers felt comfortable dealing with AI-powered virtual support. And even fewer people, 26%, trusted the reliability of their answers. So it looks like AI and the algorithms associated have a long road ahead of them to gain acceptance. Another interesting article. OpenAI's O1 model may make most lawyers obsolete. So at a Ray Summit in 2024, OpenAI's Chief Product Officer, Kevin Weil, discussed that O1's model's ability to draft legal briefs in minutes, which is a task that previously took 6 hours, and get this, $1,000 per hour. This efficiency represents a 99.9% reduction in both time and cost, prompting a reassessment of traditional pricing models for these types of professional services. This immense value created by AI tools and the ability to monetize these innovations sustainably at only $20 a month subscription is definitely something that people will begin to avail themselves of compared to the higher cost version. They don't even get into accuracy here, but I would venture to say that with human error possibly involved in the legal process, or people working for attorneys or paralegals, that the machines are probably going to be more accurate and do a better job. Now, they say that this probably won't be global anytime soon because even $20 monthly subscription might seem reasonable in some markets, but remains unaffordable for many global users. But the implications of this cost savings extend far beyond legal services, of course, and will cross over into other forms of businesses. You remember Mira Mirati? Let's bring up a picture of her. She was the CTO at, going to do it for me here. There we go. At OpenAI. And there we go. There's Mira. And here's the story on this. She is no longer with OpenAI. She left a couple of months ago, I think. She's reportedly now seeking over $100 million to develop proprietary models. The list of AI departures, by the way, of these types of talented people isn't confined to just simply Mira. We also have a couple of other people that had left. And let me see if I can find that here. Okay. Well, it was Ilya Sutskever. There we go. And Andrei Karpathy. And they are also pursuing new endeavors. And if you remember, for a brief time, Sam Altman was also ousted, but he's back. He's back at OpenAI. So they say that with her experience at OpenAI, where she contributed to key projects like ChatGPT, DAL-E, it positions her favorably in this competitive market. And in this world of AI startups, 100 mil is a drop in the bucket. It is not proportionate to what some of these other AI emerging entities are able to attract in terms of investment. But let's see what happens. The people that had left OpenAI, maybe they'll develop something even better and newer. And we'll see what kind of investment they attract. All right. We've got through the SMR portion, the small nuclear reactor section. We've gone through the is AI lying when you're asking it, what is my location? And it says, I have no idea.
Did you want the stats on those nuclear
Yeah.
reactors?
Let's have that.
I was mentioning that to you earlier. AI is projected to, data centers, which serve as the backbone of AI, are projected to consume nearly 8% of global electricity by 2030.
8%. Wow. Okay.
8%. And then there's one other one. Looks like training foundational AI models can require or can be quite energy intensive. GPT-3, OpenAI's 175 billion parameter model, reportedly used 1,287 megawatt hours to train, while DeepMind's 280 billion parameter model used 1,066 megawatts an hour per hour, I guess. This is about 100 times the energy used by the average U.S. household in a year.
In a year.
In an entire year.
And these guys using it in an hour at these AI
to train their models, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. We're going to eventually need additional forms of energy or make AI more efficient. And it'll probably be a combination of those two. So here's an article. Many of the world's languages are at risk of disappearing. And here's how AI can help. Some background. There are 7,168 languages that are spoken in the world today. And some of those have gone extinct. But they say that one dies out every 40 days. And 90% could fall silent forever in the next 100 years. One of the key problems is that generative AI is trained on just a few of the world's languages, and it's the obvious ones, English, of course, being one of the main ones. So today, the AI models tend to focus on the wealthiest markets. Makes sense. Meaning that they ignore local dialects. One of the countries that has the largest proliferation of dialects is actually Africa. And what this AI effort, which was actually being funded and created by the University of Pretoria. Pretoria, isn't that where Elon is from? Yeah. So what they're doing there is they are creating AI, LLMs, to handle these various dialects and no longer ignoring them. They aim to boost African data sets in natural language processing. It's the type of AI that deals with understanding and replicating human languages. Microsoft is also working to bring endangered languages into the digital age. And they're doing this by creating LLMs with indigenous communities in mind. So there you have it. Got a picture here that was the result of an AI prompt. And the prompt was meeting of souls. Fairly simple. What's fascinating about this is that AI is actually able to generate art. And like Aaron said earlier, he hopes that all art is generated by AI because we have an artist on our social media team who would take issue with that. Is that right, Cass? Is your microphone shut down?
I know I agree with it.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a beautiful image, actually. It's what an artist would create. And here's another image that I'm going to pop up for you. The future classroom. There we go. And we see a lot of AI influence there, AI activity, and of course the image was generated by AI. But you know what I found interesting about this image? Take this off here. Minimize, reduce. There we go. Is that why do people still need to be in a classroom? And if you think about that for a moment, it's because we're so used to the traditional methods of learning, in classroom environments. But the future, more than likely, is going to be direct neural brain feeds. If there's more data that needs to be inserted in our gray matter, or a direct wireless feed to AI with the focus on filtering to prevent information overload and confusion. So instead of using an intrusive method like an implant, eventually there may be implants or some level of augmentation in our bodies that will be able to receive the equivalent of Wi-Fi and tune into various AI pockets. And of course, you would need filtering because otherwise it would be information overload on steroids. So it's kind of fun projecting what the future holds for AI and our integration with AI.
Pete, with artists, my sister is an artist. She does a lot of abstract stuff, and we were talking about AI and using it, and she's totally against it. But about a year ago, she kind of got stuck in a rut. She was doing the same old, same old. She recognized it, so she took a little bit of a break, started doing some poetry and some other stuff, pottery, to try to get her mind back into the groove of the abstract art. And I told her, I said, well, why not check out AI to get out of those ruts? And I kind of feel like that's kind of the future of artists, when they get into a rut, or maybe there's some details that they're not thinking of or not seeing. AI, I feel like, can kind of come in and hone those skills or help out with thinking outside the box a little bit.
Excellent point, Aaron. Yeah. It seems that artistic expression, it's not the first artist I've heard of that has dabbled in other forms of artistic expression to get their mojo back in what they were most adept at, whether it be pottery or music or writing or whatever else.
Timberland is using it. He's a musician.
Yeah.
He's using Suno, which is what we use to make AI songs. And he says that he uses it. It's his muse now.
Really?
He uses it to help him come up with new melodies, tones, beats, all this kind of stuff, and then he puts them all into a song, and he loves it.
So they're getting inspiration from AI.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I think using it as a tool is fine. Completely replacing artists is something that I'm majorly against.
No, that would violate, especially some of the union type, philosophies, where we need to protect things. Remember when we had the SAG-AFTRA strike? The writers, the Hollywood writers, and it was a bad time for them to go on strike because all of these other AI tools were coming out that will potentially replace writers in the future.
Definitely.
So here's an image for you. This is a image, of course, a very well-known image, Michelangelo's image, and What the article here says is that AI has learned to recognize emotion in art. It's capable of recognizing emotion, and it takes us a step further toward creating machines with emotional intelligence. You know, that's one of the unknowns at this point is how will AI, if it hasn't already reached sentience or the ability to process emotions, what type of experience will the machines or AI have?
And this is Da Vinci.
Da Vinci, Mona Lisa. This is Mona Lisa, right? Michelangelo?
Yeah, no,
It's
this
the
is
Mona
this is
Lisa,
Leonardo
yeah.
da Vinci.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
The Mona Lisa is Leonardo da Vinci.
Ah, okay. What did Michelangelo do?
He did
David?
the Sistine Chapel.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Excuse my artistic
Mhm.
ignorance, folks. We've got some artists back there that, thank you for correcting that. So they talk about that machines and AI could experience emotions far more deeply than humans. And that the algorithm can classify artworks into one of 8 emotional categories, including awe, amusement, fear, and sadness. They don't give you the other 4 here. But they've been training AI, creating a new data set called Artemis, which includes 81,000 paintings found online and 440,000 emotional responses from over 6,500 participants. And the responses described how the artwork made viewers feel and include explanations for their emotional choices. They believe this technology could serve as a tool for artists, helping them evaluate their works and refine their creative process. Again, inspiration, which is what we talked about earlier. And then AI and being able, enabling machines to understand emotions more deeply and communicate with emotional nuance. So there you have it. And you know what? I just blew off my image library there. So bear with me here. All right. So here's another interesting thing that happened last week. Anthropic's latest AI model can now interact with your computer. And that got us pretty excited because we have call centers. The majority of our people, if not all of them, use computers. And it's a pretty slow, antiquated process. We would love to see some AI and improvements involved. This is Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Sonnet. It introduces AI that can interact with a computer much like a human. And this model allows developers to program the AI to view screens, to errors, and Claude 3.5 is already being used by companies like Asana, Canva, Replit to automate tasks and test software. We were talking earlier about our call center where we have a CRM, a customer relationship management software package we call Telemagic. It's a series of screens and fields on the screen, of course, and it's cumbersome to maneuver the mouse and click into fields and type things and into the fields and then go between screens. With AI involved, this would, of course, create enormous efficiencies and most likely take us back into or take us into the realm of being able to communicate verbally with AI to have it do all of this work on the screens. So they say that Claude learns by processing screenshots and counting pixels to figure out where to point the cursor. But more advanced moves like dragging windows still elude it. So it's got a little bit of development that it needs yet. All right. So the idea of this software is to emulate the way that you interact with your own computer. YouTube Exploration joined us. He says, we're just a bunch of electrical firings. Right. Synapses in the brain, for example. All right. Well, we are at the half-hour mark, and we have exhausted the topics that we've collected for you this week. Tomorrow is the Communication Products Podcast at 3 o'clock, and Friday morning at 10 o'clock is Gruber Power Services, where they talk about the critical power business that we're in. And then next week, of course, Tuesday and Wednesday, we've got the both the EV podcast, Roadster podcast, and AI podcast Wednesday. We appreciate you all for joining us. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Artificial Intelligence Podcast. Thanks for joining us.